Do you believe you have emotional control? Rethink your thought. In actuality, the majority of us are emotional slaves who act rashly in response to slights, unfair circumstances, and anyone who disagrees with us. But what if I told you that overcoming your emotions would require letting up of values we are taught to hold onto, such as compassion, empathy, and justice? I was always taught as a child that feelings should be communicated and that suppressing them was unhealthy. However, I discovered that the contrary was true. I felt less nervous, irate, and furious the more I leaned into emotional control and strategic detachment. I began to see that the feelings we cling to the most are frequently the ones that prevent us from moving forward. I became unstoppable after I learned to let go of these so-called necessities, not cold. From why empathy can sometimes backfire to why closure is a luxury you do not need, I am introducing some Stoic practices today that challenge everything you have been taught about emotions. Let us get started if you are prepared to quit living at the mercy of your emotions and take actual control of them. 1. Consider both achievement and failure to be temporary. We are continuously indoctrinated into believing that success is the ultimate objective and that it is everything. As if they were indicators of our value, society exalts accomplishments, plaudits, promotions, and even likes on social media. The harsh reality is that both success and failure are transitory experiences. These are fleeting moments that can leave us feeling either amazing or heartbroken, but neither emotion endures. It might be startling to realize this, particularly if we have spent years seeking approval from our accomplishments or feeling discouraged by our failures. However, it is freeing once you realize that these labels are only ephemeral. I have personal experience with this. One of my greatest career victories comes to mind. I had sacrificed time, effort, and even relationships in order to earn it. When I eventually succeeded, I experienced a first rush, a feeling of accomplishment, as if I had arrived. But the excitement was short-lived. After a few weeks, I experienced the same urge to pursue the next thing and prove myself once more. What I believed would provide long-term fulfillment felt like a momentary high that passed as soon as it appeared. And failure. I have also experienced that quite a bit. One experience is particularly memorable. I had invested all of my energy into a project that I was certain would transform my life, lead to opportunities, and ultimately earn me the respect I believed I was due, but it failed. The embarrassing failure made me feel as though that one incident encapsulated my entire identity. I allowed it to define me for weeks. I had the impression that I was wearing the term failure like a badge. However, I eventually realized that both the world and I had gone on. I was the only one who cared about that failure, and it did not define who I was. The underlying message is that both failure and achievement are, in a sense, only temporary occurrences on our path. We miss the point when we place all of our value on a single accomplishment or allow a single failure to devastate us. Our greatest highs and lowest lows are only a part of life. Winning today does not make you a success, and losing today does not make you a loser. When we stop labeling ourselves according to these transient results and instead begin to value the lessons each experience has to offer, we will truly find fulfillment. Meaning comes from the process of striving, growing, and learning via these experiences, not from the final designation. Being aware of this does not exclude you from experiencing happiness when you succeed or grief when you fail, but it does prevent you from allowing either emotion to control you. You will continue on your path, accepting each moment as a step on the path rather than the final destination. 2. Quit offering justifications for emotional outbursts. Allowing emotional outbursts as a natural part of who they are is one of the most prevalent ways people cede their authority. We say things like, "I am just a passionate person," or "I cannot help but have a short fuse." The harsh reality is that emotional outbursts indicate a lack of control rather than genuineness or passion. Justifying these instances merely serves to perpetuate the notion that it is okay to allow our feelings to control us and to spill over into our interactions with others. If we are being honest, these justifications are frequently a means of evading accountability for our deeds. I recall a period of time when I would allow my stress to fester and explode over the simplest things. I would lose my temper with family, overreact with friends, and then try to defend it. I am under a lot of strain, or I just need to let it out, are some of the things I would say. I even thought that others should accept me for being authentic. However, I quickly realized that these outbursts were only harming my relationships and the individuals I cared about. My family would tread carefully around me because they did not know when I would lose it, and my friends were avoiding me. I could not deny the harm it was causing, and it was isolating. The true turning point was when I began to address the root causes of my reactions rather than just justifying them. I started to realize that my outbursts were indicators that I was having trouble controlling my stress and insecurities, rather than being expressions of passion or honesty. I discovered that true self-control involves accepting your feelings without allowing them to rule you, not suppressing them. Yes, I am feeling this, but I do not need to act on it right now, is the key. The underlying message here is that it is a sign of strength to accept responsibility for our emotional responses. Learning to respond instead of react is more important than repressing our emotions. We earn respect from others and develop respect for ourselves when we break the habit of making excuses, knowing that we have authority over our behaviors, even when our emotions are running high, makes us begin to trust ourselves more. No amount of reactionary ranting could ever provide the calm that it does. Pause the next time you sense an impending eruption. Remember that self-control is the key to true power. It makes sense to control your emotions and select a response rather than allowing them run amok. In a society that encourages us to simply let it out, it takes amazing self-control to have the guts to maintain composure under duress. It demonstrates to both you and other people that you do not have to justify your actions. What really makes you who you are is that you are in charge. 3. Expect people to let you down. It is an uneasy, perhaps even somewhat pessimistic, viewpoint. You should expect individuals to disappoint you. However, this way of thinking is about shielding oneself from the burden of irrational expectations, not about distrust or becoming cynical. We learn to believe in honesty, loyalty, and support for one another. Therefore, it might feel like a personal betrayal when someone fails to live up to those standards. But humans are fallible. They have their own constraints, challenges, and priorities. You are much less likely to be devastated when it happens if you realize that others will let you down occasionally. This lesson came to me the hard way. I trusted a close friend completely years ago. I just expected they would be there again when I hit another difficult time because they had supported me through some of my darkest moments. However, they weren't. I felt deceived when they were unable to provide me with the kind of assistance I had anticipated because they had their own lives and challenges. How could they do this to me? Was my thought, as I took it personally. Although it was painful, I eventually realized that my own expectations were somewhat to blame. It was a lot to expect from anyone, but I had imagined they would always prioritize my needs. I learned an important lesson about emotional resilience from this event. We may enjoy people for who they are without idealizing or demanding perfection, when we accept that they will occasionally fall short of our expectations. Paradoxically, you can see people more clearly when you stop expecting them to live up to your standards. This includes their individuality, their modest gestures of compassion, and their effort. You release yourself and them from disappointment by ceasing to hold them to an impossible standard. This is about accepting that everyone is human and is doing the best they can in life, just like you. It is not about reducing your standards. You also develop resilience when you approach relationships with this knowledge. You acknowledge that people's shortcomings are a natural part of life, rather than feeling devastated by them. You do not lose your inner serenity or your sense of self-worth when you are disappointed. I view this for what it is, a human limitation, not a personal failing, is one way to put it. This strengthens you rather than makes you aloof or chilly. At the same time, you may establish limits with clarity when you assume that individuals will fail you from time to time. You will be able to take a step back and reevaluate their place in your life if they consistently disappoint you. However, their decisions and behaviors no longer determine your stability or level of satisfaction. You no longer wish for people to be someone they are not, and you do not get upset when they show their flaws. Rather, you are based on the knowledge that individuals will behave in ways that suit their own purposes, just as you could if you were in their shoes. In the end, this strategy is about accepting complete accountability for your own mental health. You are not giving your happiness to other people in the hopes that they will manage it well. Knowing that your well-being is not dependent on the erratic character of people, you are holding it firmly yourself. Ironically, you are more likely to have more satisfying, genuine connections when you free other people from the burden of unreasonable expectations. You find strength in your capacity to maintain your composure no matter what people decide, and you allow them to be human with all of their flaws. 4. Put inner peace ahead of being right. Adopting a habit that prioritizes inner peace over correctness is arguably the most difficult yet rewarding. Do not we all enjoy being correct? When we prove someone else wrong, win a debate, or make our point, we feel that thrill of affirmation. The problem is that striving to be correct frequently comes at the expense of our inner tranquility. When was the last time you got into a fight with someone? After that, did you feel better? Or did you experience exhaustion, anxiety, or perhaps guilt? Long-term satisfaction is rarely attained by striving for correctness. It frequently results in strained relationships, unneeded stress, and an uneasy feeling. For what purpose? A short-lived triumph that is not significant in the long term. In a recent argument with a coworker, I discovered this the hard way. I was certain that I was correct and that my viewpoint on the matter was the best one. For hours, we argued back and forth, each of us attempting to establish our position. Every time I presented a convincing counterargument, I felt victorious in the moment, but I was exhausted at the conclusion of the discussion. I thought about the strain for days. It was not worthwhile. I came to see that being correct was a myth at that point. The argument only caused division rather than bringing me closer to the truth. I began to realize that letting go of the drive to be correct, rather than winning, is where true peace is found. Prioritizing inner peace helps you realize that not all conflicts are worthwhile. Not all disputes must be resolved, and not all circumstances call for a victor. Selecting inner peace entails realizing that you can be content without the world agreeing with you. It is acceptable to disagree without feeling compelled to prove your position. It is about accepting the freedom that comes with accepting things as they are and letting go of the ego's demand for approval. Recognize that everything is beyond your control. The most important lesson I can impart to you is that you are powerless over everything. Many of us live as if we can control reality, which may seem self-evident. We strive to control other people, arrange every aspect of our life, and stress over results. I believe that if I worked hard and planned well enough, I could make everything go my way. So I spent years trying to manage my situation. However, life can be unpredictable. No matter how much you prepare, unforeseen events will always happen, and you will be able to unwind sooner if you accept this. I recall putting my all into a project and making sure everything went perfect as planned. However, the entire endeavor was derailed by outside forces, things that were totally beyond my control. I felt powerless, angry, and frustrated. However, that incident taught me a valuable lesson. Attempting to control everything only results in misery. You allow yourself to be receptive to what is when you let go of the demand for control. You begin to realize that you should embrace life's unpredictable nature rather than fear it. You have no influence over the actions of people, the course of events, or the results of your endeavors. However, how you react to all of it is within your control. You can at last feel at peace after you let go of the illusion of control. 5. Postpone your response. Natural reactions to emotional outbursts include defending ourselves, lashing out, or proving our point. However, that initial response is frequently motivated by hurt, rage, or frustration, and we often say or do regrettable things in the heat of the moment. Delaying your response, breathing, taking a step back, and allowing the first emotional outburst to subside can be a life-changing technique. It is similar to programming a mental pause button that allows you to select a reaction rather than letting an impulse dictate it. It is not that simple. Our emotions are strong and force us to take action right away, but taking a moment to think things through allows you to do so. What is really occurring here, and will my reaction help, or will it make things worse, is a question it enables you to take. You give yourself the opportunity to think about the bigger picture rather than just your immediate emotions by postponing your response. Before this lesson truly clicked, I had to hear it several times. I used to have a tendency to react right away when I felt challenged. Without thinking, I would react defensively or sharply when someone said something negative or contemptuous. I believed I was defending myself, but more often than not, it resulted in disagreements, miscommunications, and a persistent sense of guilt. I always felt worse after reacting hastily, not because of what they said, but more because I did not give myself time to think things through. After a particularly intense argument one day, I made the decision to give something new a try. I remained silent the next time I sensed my feelings rising. After letting the other person finish, I took a few deep breaths and gave myself permission to be silent for a bit. When I did answer, it was cool, collected, and shockingly successful. For once, I felt at peace as I left the talk without it getting out of hand. I had the insight to answer without rage or fury because of that moment. It is not about suppressing your feelings or seeming indifferent if you put off reacting. It is about understanding that your feelings at the moment may not always be the best approach to proceed. By pausing, you are not disregarding your feelings. Rather, you are allowing them to calm down so that your answer may be based on clarity rather than confusion. This minor change can avoid miscommunications, diffuse tensions, and even strengthen bonds between people. This practice's strength increases over time, which is its beauty. You can better regulate your emotions by delaying your reactions. You begin to see that you do not have to submit to every emotion that comes up. You have the ability to deliberately select your answers. Even when things get tough, you may maintain your inner serenity and dignity. It simply means that you do so in a way that respects both you and the other person, not that you never defend yourself. Consider it this way. You are teaching yourself to be resilient each time you postpone your response. I am in control of how I respond, not my feelings. You are telling yourself. Delaying your response so turns into a sign of emotional fortitude. It serves as a reminder that being powerful does not require being reactive, and being heard does not require lashing out. You are saving your energy for what really counts and shielding your tranquility from needless drama by pausing. Delaying your answer ultimately gives you the ability to be more than just reactive, to overcome the fleeting desire, and to select a course of action that is consistent with your values. Additionally, this easy exercise gradually helps you develop a serene, unwavering core that people appreciate and notice. People will perceive you as responsible, grounded, and in control, qualities that are uncommon in a society where emotions frequently triumph over logic. Therefore, the next time you feel the need to respond right away, keep in mind that the most effective response of all may be to take a deep breath, wait, and carefully consider what you say. 6. Find the situation funny. It is simple to let frustration, rage, or even self-pity take over when life presents difficulties. However, laughter is a surprising and potent remedy for stress and negativity. When faced with challenging circumstances, finding a little humor can completely change your viewpoint and give you the courage to grin and carry on. Seeing the ridiculousness in some of life's setbacks and realizing that not all challenges need to be taken so seriously in the long run is what this means, not trivializing truly serious issues. Consider this. You are having a difficult day at work. Your boss is making unreasonable demands. You have a ton of unfinished business, and everything that might go wrong is going wrong. You might become angry and let the stress to consume your entire day, Or you could stop, step back, and see the humor in it. Perhaps it is just the humorous timing of yet another unforeseen obstacle, or perhaps it is the irony of an absolutely terrible day. In any event, comedy enables you to temporarily separate yourself from the annoyance, much like stepping outside of yourself and viewing the circumstance from a different perspective. I have experienced my share of bad days, from inadvertently erasing crucial documents to becoming stranded in a downpour without an umbrella while traveling to a crucial meeting. My first reaction was generally to stew in annoyance or blame my terrible fate. But as time went on, I discovered that finding the humor made these situations much more tolerable. When I pictured myself in a sitcom, with all these errors culminating in an absurd, extravagant day, my irritation would abruptly turn to laughter. Will this matter in 5 years, or even 5 days? Was the question I started to pose. The majority of the time, the response was no, and I realized that the circumstance no longer had the same influence on me. Avoiding reality or acting as though nothing is wrong is not the goal of finding humor in life's ups and downs. It is about adopting an alternative viewpoint that prevents obstacles from becoming too much to bear. Endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals, are released when you laugh, which helps you unwind and refocus even under pressure. When you inject comedy into difficult situations, people tend to react favorably, which makes it simpler to settle disputes and reduce stress. It also provides you the fortitude to confront life's uncertainties with a lighter heart. Of course, there are times when it seems hard to find humor, such as while dealing with unpleasant or severe problems. But even at these trying times, a grin or a simple joke may make a huge difference. Humor reminds you that life does not have to be so serious by bringing perspective and lightness. It serves as a means of reassuring yourself, I can handle this, since you are not defeated if you are still able to laugh. Consider humor to be your secret weapon, a means of taking back control of circumstances that appear to be trying to make you uncomfortable. A well-timed chuckle can help you let go of things you cannot control and reflect on what really matters, rather than reacting with annoyance or anger. By laughing at life's challenges, you are telling yourself that no circumstance is greater than your capacity to handle it. You are maximizing your strength in the face of the problem, not lessening it. Ultimately, being able to find humor in difficult circumstances makes you more resilient and resilient. It serves as a reminder that you have the ability to decide how you will respond even in the face of adversity. Though it may not alter the situation, humor transforms you. It is a decision to continue on with a lighter heart, free from the burden of each minor setback or accident. And you will discover that life's obstacles seem less overwhelming as you hone this skill. You develop the ability to smile in the face of obstacles, miscommunications, and annoyances, a trait that will benefit you in many facets of life. 7. Do not be scared to leave. Realizing that you do not have to stay in a challenging situation is one of the most liberating things you can do. Knowing when to leave a toxic relationship, a high-stress job, or an argument that is getting out of hand can help you preserve your energy, keep your peace, and gain perspective. Walking away indicates that you are putting yourself before needless strife or suffering, not that you are giving up or failing. It is about realizing that some circumstances are not worth your time or emotional energy, and that it is acceptable to move on. Many of us experience pressure to persevere under any situation. We are encouraged to persevere, to overcome hardship at all costs, and to be afraid that quitting would somehow make us weak or give up. However, this kind of thinking might keep us stuck in destructive patterns. Knowing when something is not working for you and having the guts to back off or quit completely are signs of strength. When your energy and value are not being recognized, leaving is frequently the most dignified course of action. I once continued to work in a job that was emotionally and mentally taxing. The workplace was poisonous, and it seemed like a daily struggle to survive. My first reaction was to keep going, hoping that things would get better, or that walking away would give the impression that I could not take it. But as time went on, I saw that remaining was weakening rather than strengthening me. One of the most difficult yet freeing choices I would ever made was to finally walk away. I was stronger because I was choosing to respect myself over a setting that didn't, not because I was weak. In actuality, we frequently remain in exhausting circumstances because we are afraid of what other people may think, of change, or that by leaving, we will be failing in some way. However, remaining in painful situations wears us down rather than elevates us. Walking away may be the best course of action to protect yourself and move on if you are caught in a relationship, work, or conflict that consistently saps your energy or threatens your well-being. It is critical to realize that walking away does not imply escaping responsibilities or adversity. Often, it is just a matter of choose a different route, one that brings more opportunity, progress, or calm. Setting boundaries, seeing that your peace of mind is more vital than remaining stuck, and realizing that your well-being is too valuable to forfeit are all part of walking away. Regaining control can be achieved by leaving if something is hurting you more than it is helping. Walking away could actually improve the situation for all parties. For instance, leaving a conversation instead of intensifying it during an argument can allow both participants to calm down, analyze their feelings, and come back with more clarity. Walking away in those situations can maintain respect and stop additional relationship harm. Keep in mind that it is not about ignoring every problem or difficulty. It is about knowing when something has become dangerous, exhausting, or beneath your value, rather than something that can be resolved. For instance, leaving a poisonous circumstance is not a sign of surrender. Rather, it is a means to respect your worth and safeguard your well-being. It is a choice to find serenity elsewhere and to cease engaging in conflicts that are not worth winning. Therefore, do not be scared to leave a challenging circumstance the next time it arises. When staying would cost you your happiness, peace, or dignity, know that it is acceptable to go. You are selecting yourself when you decide to leave, and that choice will always put you one step closer to the connections and life you deserve.